Oh, hey, what's happening there, YouTube? It's Brian House here for Housework, and today we are going to be fabricating some of those cool knobs that I prototyped a couple of months ago. These knobs are designed specifically for the Revolution 2x72 belt grinder project. If you're not familiar with that project, I'll put links down below so you can go check out the kits that we sell on my website, housemade.us. Ultimately, it's a big, heavy industrial grinder that we prototyped, designed, and then ultimately led to manufacture right here on YouTube. And now this is pretty much everything I do with my time now. I'm a grinder guy, I do a lot of YouTube videos and things like that, and it's all because of you. So I want to say thank you to you guys. I truly appreciate you watching and supporting me in just about everything that I've got going on, including these knobs, which, by the way, just blew my mind about how many people contacted me after I put that prototype video out a few months ago. It took this long to kind of sort of work out how to, I had a couple minor tweaks, things that needed to change, how to fabricate them, and then I had to order a whole bunch, have them shipped in, and I finally got my hands on a whole bunch of them. Long story short, I have 6,000 of these things now sitting in my workshop, so it's time to get rid of them. They are part of the Ultimate Bundle Kit. Now, if you go onto the website, housemade.us, you'll see that I have the Ultimate Bundle kits now. The tube steel now comes with those kits, so it's even more complete kit. Really, all you have to do is source the motor, VFD, and wheels, and we actually help you source all that stuff now. So anyway, the story behind the knobs. I've been supplying plastic knobs with the kits for the last couple of years. I buy those through McMaster-Carr. COVID hit, the price of those things goes up and up and up, and then the supply goes down, down, down. I just realized, you know what, we need some cool looking steel knobs to kind of finish the grinder off and make it look really super cool and industrial. So that's what these are. This video is really just going to kind of be an addendum to the plan so that you can manufacture the knobs that you get when you buy the kit. Now, you can buy the knobs separately. I have them for sale, so if you want to upgrade your existing kit, you can go on to housemade.us and find the knobs and buy a set for your own. I'll throw them in a bag and I'll ship them to you. So anyway, guys, let's just dive right into the build. It's very simple, very easy, kind of short. Let's do it. Okay, so here's what you're going to get in the kit. You get all the bolts and hardware, and then you're going to get 4 of the big ones and 1 small one. These are laser cut. There's going to be a little bit of cleanup on these, and the reason I like this scenario is you get to pick what you actually do with the knobs, and we're going to kind of customize these to our liking in just a little bit so you can kind of see. But I'm going to take you through the steps of how I actually sort of fabricate these to look kind of cool, how I weld them, and all that. The reason I give you 1 small knob is the work rest receiver tube needs a little bit of clearance underneath. So where I have it positioned, there really isn't a whole lot of room down there, so you can't have like a big knob. It'll just run into one of the risers. So I designed this little small guy to kind of fit up underneath there. Now the bolts and hardware is pretty self-explanatory. I do remove the zinc coating from these. I'm looking for a supplier that can get me fully threaded bolts like this without the zinc coating, but for now I'm just kind of removing it. I'm actually doing that with vinegar. I have shown that on Instagram a couple of times on how that works. So there might be a little bit of surface rust on these, and that's just solely because I don't want you welding on zinc. It's not healthy for you, and it also contaminates the weld. So we want those as clean as possible. You're going to get, obviously, 5 total bolts, a split washer, and a couple of nuts, and I'll show you what those are for. All right, let's talk a little bit about how to clean these up. If you don't have a grinder, like a stationary grinder, I like to use a flap disc on just a pneumatic die grinder, or a, this is just an angle grinder, pneumatic angle grinder. I buy these at Harbor Freight. I mean, this is just the cheapie. I don't even know what these are, 25 bucks, 30 bucks, something like that. As long as you keep them oiled, they last a long time. Also, I love these die grinders with the Roloc. I don't know if you've seen these, but you can swap out these heads. Put a little Scotch-Brite pad on there. My favorite attachment, Scotch-Brite pad on a die grinder. And then also, to get into those tight little spots, I get these little sander rounded over flap disc things. I think they call it like a flap. Hell, man, I don't know what it's called. Anyway, I'll put links down in the description so you can find all this stuff. But we're going to use just these tools to sort of round over the edges and make these look pretty. before we weld. We're going to do all of that work because it's just so much easier when there's not a bolt in the way. So let's get started. This edge right here is going to be the bottom edge. And I like to have my edges kind of smoothed over and rounded over. And for that, I'm going to use an angle grinder with a flap disc on it. I get these at Empire Abrasives. Those guys are awesome over there. Small abrasives company. And if you use the promo code HOUSEWORK at checkout, you'll get 10% off your first order. And it helps support the channel a little bit because they've been sponsoring us now. So they keep me stocked up with all kinds of really great flap discs, 2x72 belts, the whole deal. They've got everything over there. So go check them out at empireabrasives.com. Let's just go ahead and round over these edges and kind of make them uniform. And again, this is a handmade item for the most part. So it's going to have its own unique character. So whatever you do to this, it's going to be on your own style and how you want it to look. So I'm stoked to be able to add these to the kits. I mean, now I'm really just adding metal to the kits, no more plastic at all, because I just think it looks cooler. And I had a supply chain problem because of COVID, and I couldn't get the plastic knobs anymore, and I was paying through the nose for them. So for just about the same price, I was able to swap everything out with steel, believe it or not. All right, so now you can see we just got the edges broken over a little bit. I ground down some of those laser marks that were on there. She's starting to feel a little bit more soft. One of the things you really want to kind of round over are these little sharper edges, you know, just because you're going to be putting a little clamping force on these, so you don't want to catch your fingers on those. But yeah, so now we're going to move on to the little Scotch-Brite pad roll lock deal, and we're going to polish this guy right up. Such a cool finish from such a quick little tool. Think about what you could do with this application for knife making if you use this. I like to round over my spines and polish my spines with that tool. All right, let's finish her up. Okay, so how I set this up is thread the nut on with the washer and then set this into the vise and leave it up a little proud, so this washer is sitting up on top of that nut. And then you're going to just simply take your knob and set it on top, and what that does is the washer actually allows for it to sit nice and flush, and then you can adjust, you know, by turning this how high you want that bolt head. So in this case, I want a little bit of, I'm going to MIG this, so I want a little bit more depth. I want to just fill this in because I want some strength on these. We're not putting a ton of pressure on these knobs, but I do want enough metal between these. This might be a little bit of an overkill. Let me just do about right like that. Yeah, I'd say it's about a 1/16 of an inch. That looks about right. And that naturally, that's just going to want to rest right at 90 degrees off the bolt. So let's pop some quick tack welds in here on opposite sides, and then we'll do a fill weld, sort of like a plug, to kind of keep all this together, and then we'll polish it down and see what we got. Yeah, something was up with my welding gas. It just didn't fire off. It was turned on, but it didn't fire. So that's the reason why I got all that splatter and mess. Not a huge deal. I'm gonna just weld right over it. Looks pretty good. Let's grind it down and see what we got. Okay, now you can kind of see where this is going. We got a little, color change there from the weld. You can leave it or not, and polish it off, do whatever you want. But yeah, I call that a success. Where my welding gas for some reason didn't kick on, there was a little bit of a splatter mark in there, so it kind of created a couple of little divots. I'm not too concerned about that. I like that. I think that's character. But, hey, you want these perfect, you can get them as perfect as you want. I'm going to hit this again with a Scotch-Brite pad and call this one done. We'll fabricate up the rest of them with the exact same methodology, and then I'll show you where they go on the grinder. All right, so we've got all 5 knobs fabricated up. Some of them have 1-inch studs on them. In fact, 3 of them have 1-inch studs. One of them has a 3-inch stud threaded, and this one is a 2-inch. And they all have different applications. And when you buy the kit on the website, you will get a cool little diagram that will kind of explain what each one does and where it goes on the machine. Or you can just simply watch this video again and it'll talk you right through it. But yeah, this is a pretty simple and straightforward process. And I just love the look of these things. I just think they're fantastic. I spent a lot of times designing them, and I put a lot of energy into the process. So I really love that this is going on the grinder kit. So anyway, so just so we're clear, you can buy these knobs on their own, and the threads are 3/8/16, and that's a good knob thread size in my opinion. Or if you buy the Ultimate Bundle, it will come as a part of the Ultimate Bundle now. So yeah, so anyway, let's go over to the Revolution and let's put each one of these on the machine. All right, so this is a standard Generation 4 Revolution. The first knob we're going to put on is the tracking mechanism knob. This one has the 3-inch stud in it, and we're going to thread it in. Now, I always keep a nut on here just in case everything starts to vibrate or whatever. The other trick to this is to put a little Loctite, like removable Loctite on the threads, just a couple of dots so that it tightens up the threads a little bit. This part of the machine gets probably the most vibration, the frequencies, because the belt's riding on this tracking wheel here. My machine vibrates very little. I don't typically need any Loctite, but hey, it's nice to have this nut here just in case. So this threads all the way through, and as you can see, as you start turning it, it'll start touching this mechanism on the other side and pushing it in and out. So that's knob number 1. Second knob we're going to thread in is a larger style knob with a 1-inch stud on it, and that's for the platen arm. This is going to lock everything down, and we'll just go ahead and tighten that down, and that holds in the platen arm. Beauty. The third knob is this little guy. He's going to go up on the underside, so we're going to tilt this way. Turn it this way. You can see what I'm doing. And then it threads up underneath. And this is what holds in the work rest tooling arm right here. Next is the platen adjuster knob. This is a 2-inch stud here, and it's got a flat washer, a nut, and a split washer, and that's because you need clamping force here. You need to offset it a little bit because you've got this button head sitting a little proud. So. And lastly, we need to thread up a small 1-inch stud here on the front of the work rest secondary arm, so that locks the work rest in place. Works pretty great. What I think I really love about this project is that it gives you all kind of your own access to kind of be creative with these knobs. You can etch your logo into them, you can polish them, you can paint them, you can do whatever you want with them. I really love that it actually finishes off the grinder. Sometimes when you see things happen like supply chain problems or whatever, you can make lemonade out of lemons, and I think that's what we did, because this really does improve the look and the use of these grinders. I just think it really sort of well rounds it out and finishes it off. So listen guys, I appreciate you hanging out with me in my workshop and studio today. Make sure you go out and listen to the Work For It podcast. You can find that on any podcast platform. It's me, Benjamin Butler, and Brian Cohn of B Cohn Knives. We talk business in the workshop. Hang out with us, come over there and listen to our podcast, because, a lot of you guys are working in your workshops and you're listening to music or whatever, and I find myself now kind of running out of things to listen to. Podcasts are a really great way of keeping you kind of working and moving forward in your workshop. Also, you can support me on Patreon. You can go to my website, housemade.us. You can buy pieces, parts, and plans for the Revolution Project. You can buy me a coffee. You can do all kinds of things to support everything I have going on right here in my workshop and studio. I hope to see you guys on the next video. My name is Brian House, and this has been Housework.